Good morning, YouTubes, and how are you? First of all, happy Christmas. That's my nod to Christmas. And secondly, thank you to everybody that watches these videos and comments. As I probably said before, the aim of my making these videos... Why isn't that working? I'll worry about that later. Stick some gloves on. It's a bit of a chilly, wet day in Kent. I've got my heated kit on. Yeah, the idea of me making these videos was just for me and the family, and something, you know, for my mates and stuff, for something for the future, for me to look back on and for them to look back on, and etc, etc. Oh, that's a new place being built. Nice. But yeah, people seem to enjoy them, and some people message me on Facebook, because I'm on Facebook, as a lot of people are. I know it's for old people, blah blah blah, but yeah, I'm on Facebook. And I get a few comments on the videos with people saying that they enjoy them and what have you, so I really appreciate that. It's nice that other people enjoy them, because I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. Most of it's old men on motorcycles, and I do enjoy them, and when I enjoy them I normally give a like, and quite often I'll comment just to say what I have, or well, not what I haven't enjoyed, because everyone I follow I enjoy. You got a light out, mate. Thank you very much. I'm sure he's got a light on his dash that tells him that, and he's a fancy new Defender. I have changed the camera angle slightly as well, so I'm hoping that you get a little bit more of the sky on the road than you did previously. Oh, it's muddy around here. But the RS thing of beauty takes it in its stride. Quick RS update. It's lovely. It's running beautifully. Oh, maps have come to life. It's running beautifully. I did have a tail light out, which I assume would be the 43-year-old bulb, probably older than that, to be fair. Oh no, it can't be older than that, can it? That's when it was built. Fucking twat. The old bulb, anyway. So I took the bulb out, had a look at it, it was fine. I put a new one in anyway, because I had one on the shelf. So I chucked a new bulb in, pulled the fuse out, the fuse just fell apart. That was the problem. If anyone remembers, previously I had a problem with a was it a headlight? Yeah, it was a headlight. And again, that was the fuse. The fuses are just corroded and rotted away. So I put all new fuses in anyway. Other than that, this morning before I came out, I nipped the chain up, because that was getting a little bit slack. Everyone that knows about RS's know that they do like to kill chains. And the chain that Mikey put on this when I bought it was just a chain to get it going. And I've got a creak from my helmet. I hope you can't hear that. And that's not the helmet in my trousers either. Hopefully it doesn't come from the microphone. Yeah, the chain you put on was just to get the bike going, and I will run that until it dies. Then I'll put something decent on, you know, DID, O-ring or whatever. God, look at all this mud and shite everywhere. But yeah, other than that, the RS thing of beauty is running absolutely lovely. Second kick this morning, and I haven't ridden it probably for a couple of weeks. I can't remember when my last video was. Oh, we got a horse. Don't know if you can see that. Two horses. Right, let's just roll down on idle. Oh, it's bucking. I'll just turn the engine off and cruise out of the way. He gave me a wave to say thank you. Let's just sit here and let him get out of the way. Yeah, that horse isn't very happy, is it? I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Right, let's get the old girl going again. Oh, beautiful. I don't actually know where I'm going today. I'll just pull around the corner to get out of the way of those horses. I can't remember what I was waffling about now. Oh yeah, the RS, thing of beauty. And it really is a thing of beauty. I love this bike so much. But yeah, it is running beautifully. Doesn't use any oil. Doesn't use anything of anything really. Tax MOT exempt, historic vehicle. No ULEZ, so they can fuck off if I want to go up to the bike shed or whatever. But yeah, running beautifully. The other reason for the video today is to talk about what I used to do for work, and I've thought long and hard about this because of what I do, and you'll find out in a few seconds or a minute or whatever when I finish waffling. I've thought long and hard about it because of the job that I did and the amount that you can talk about it and discuss about it. But my previous role was as a surveillance operator, and mostly motorcycle surveillance operator, which meant I got paid for blasting around on motorcycles very fast and absolutely loving it. It was the best job in the world. That's closed. Yeah, and that was a job that I did for, I can't remember how many years, 14 years, 15 years maybe. But yeah, that's what I used to do. So I was one of the lucky people that got to ride some very nice motorcycles, got trained to a very high level. We're also armed as well, so if the bad guys were that much of a risk, then we would carry firearms for our own protection, and obviously to protect the public. Now, I'm not going to say who I worked for or where I worked, because there's a lot of my colleagues that are still out there every day, in all weathers, all hours of the day, working fucking horrendous shifts as I used to, or at one shift it was 30 odd hours. But they are still out there fighting the good fight against some really fucking horrible people, which, you know, most of the time the public just don't even realise is happening in the background. So obviously I'm not going to talk about any tactics, I'm not going to talk about any specifics or anything like that, and anything I do talk about, I've actually done a little bit of research about this. Oh, there's a power station up in the distance, you won't be able to see that, but yeah, power station. I'm not going to talk about any specifics, and anything I do talk about, as I say, I did a little bit of research, and I did a quick search on YouTube to see what was already out in the real world and that was open to public knowledge. So anything I discuss is already in the public domain. Billsington and Hythe. Let's go towards Hythe, shall we? Nice little church. So again, yeah, anything that I talk about is already out there. I'm not going to discuss anything that isn't out there, and there's an awful lot that obviously I can't discuss, and I don't want that to sound, you know, arsey, but there's a lot of things that people don't need to know because they're tactics used to catch the bad guys and some of the people that want to do this country harm. And the less they know about what certain agencies and what have you do, Olins, you failed me there, the better. I've got no idea who I am. And I did think about a few of the stories that I could tell, and there aren't really that many. Let's pull over here. Oh, a little ramp. This is a Royal Military Canal. I don't know if it was dug. It's certainly not a man-made feature. Right. I'm free riding. Okay, that says where I am now. I guess that'll follow my route. Oh, wrong button. That's the trouble with having. So the where I am symbol is right underneath, if you can see that, is right underneath where you go back. No, that should do it. Sorry, I'll leave it like that. But yeah, this video might be a bit disjointed because as I'm talking I'm going to be thinking about what I can and can't say, if that makes sense, because there are certain things that obviously would be nice for people to know because they're good stories, but there are also stories that I can't tell and that I wouldn't tell because of obviously my colleagues still doing what they do. But just to give you an appreciation, obviously when people are out on the streets you know, looking after the sort of security of the nation and what have you, you've got some very brave and talented people working some horrific hours. I mean, I remember we used to start, you know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you'd be working through till maybe midnight, when you would finish and you'd have your little debrief about what happened during the day, and then all the paperwork would be signed, and then the boss would turn around and say, right, we're back wherever at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you would literally go home. I would go home obviously on the bike, and I would put it in the workshop. First thing I'd do would be check it over. I would check the tyres, I'd check and lube the chain, I'd do the oil levels, all that sort of stuff. I would then take my kit off. If the kit was wet, I would normally take it into the house and try and hang it up in the fireplace to dry, or I would try and arrange spare kit for the following day to make sure that that was ready. In the winter I would carry normally 3 pairs of gloves. I'd be wearing 1 pair and carry 2 other pairs, because getting cold and wet is a mug's game, and you do get cold and wet. And then you would try and get as much sleep as you could before waking up jet lagged almost for the next day's work. And that day could be anything from sitting around in the corner of a car park for hours. What is this? Oh my god, I don't really know where I am. Yeah, that day could be anything from sitting in the corner of a car park somewhere because the bad guy isn't doing anything that day, to travelling hundreds of miles. You know, I mean, there were days when I did 400 plus miles quite happily on the bike, and I know that doesn't sound much, you know, when you're riding out with your mates for 400 miles it's easy, but when you're following a bad guy, you do what he does, you stop when he stops. So if he does a long journey and he doesn't stop for food, you don't stop for food either. So if you're riding the bike and you are starving Marvin, you are thirsty, you are freezing cold, and you are desperate for a piss, you're shit out of luck. I mean, there have been times where I've stopped on the hard shoulder for a piss and then had to absolutely blast to catch the team up, because if the bad guy's doing 80 miles an hour and you're stopped just for a minute, they're over a mile away from you, and you try catching that mile up, it's not easy. It can take quite a while, especially on a motorway, especially if it's a 2-lane motorway. You know, you might have to undertake people, and the last thing you want to do is draw attention to yourself, but it's the way it is. The other thing about, you know, coming on to another point, surveillance motorcycling is the most dangerous job going, and that isn't an exaggeration. I don't want it to sound like I'm glorifying it or anything like that, or I'm trying to big myself up, because I'm definitely not, because it was a crash that ended my career. I might talk about that if there's enough time on this video. But the saying for surveillance motorcyclists was, you either retire or you get a bench. And sadly, let's go this way. Actually, let's go this way. I think, no, that just goes Melon Lane. Melons, that sounds good. Let's do a bit of Melon Lane, shall we? Yeah, the saying, you either retire or you get a bench. And one of the training establishments in the UK, outside of their cafeteria, they have 3 wooden benches all dedicated to dead surveillance motorcyclists, sadly. And in the organisation I was in, obviously a crash was what finished my career, and it ended a career of another biker on the team. It was a friend of mine who permanently walks with a cane due to another crash, obviously. So yeah, it is one of those jobs, but no one forces you to do it. You know, you do volunteer to do it, and you do all the training for it, and it was honestly the best job in the world. I absolutely loved it, and I do miss it, because, you know, what's better on a nice warm sunny day than being paid to absolutely blast around on a motorcycle when That shit, scumbags. Fucking hate that. When someone else is paying the bills and you're not going to get points on your licence. Yeah, happy days. But like anything, it has a lifespan, and that lifespan can be anything from, you know, a crash to just thinking, yeah, do you know what, I've used up all my lives and it's time to call it a day. Because you certainly will use up your lives, you know, on a bike, because the public don't see you, and they don't see you because the idea is you're not seen. I'm not going to go into reasons why you're not seen and what we would do, but yeah, you tend to blend in, shall we say. So sometimes you come flying around a corner and Mrs. Miggins is pulling out in a Nissan Micra and she doesn't see you, and it's generally, you know, it's not her fault, because that's the idea. The idea is we don't get seen. But I'll talk about the crash that I had. We'd finished the day at work and the bad guys started doing something else, so we got rushed out on a job. God, it's fucking windy, hope you can hear me. We got rushed out on a job, so we all responding, the team are going to various locations and everyone's listening to stuff over the radio, because obviously you have a radio, which comes back to someone said, how could you ride and talk? Well, I've spent a lot of time riding and talking for my work, so that's why I can ride and talk. Yeah, it's the old multitasking, I guess. But yeah, listening to everything going on the radio. And anyway, I'm on a road in Kent, big wide A road, and I crest a hill and I can see a car pull up at a junction, and he is probably a quarter of a mile away from me. But this car pulls up, it's pitch black, there's no street lights. Car pulls up at a junction and just sits there. So I think he's seen me, and as it happens, he had seen me. So I'm getting closer and closer, and you know, you just have that gut feeling, those spidey senses. Well, spidey senses are nature's way of telling you something is wrong. It's that inbuilt mechanism, safety mechanism that we all have that we don't even realise. And my spidey senses kicked in. So I rolled off the throttle, I covered the brakes. As it happened, when we recovered the bike, I had shifted down a gear as well, which is part of the training, so the train does work. And I moved right out to the centre of the road just to give myself that little bit of distance, just in case. And lo and behold, I was probably 50 metres and the car pulled straight to my path. He then realised that I was, you know, right on top of him, so he slammed his brakes on, basically blocking the road. And I tried to get around the front of him, and I didn't. I hit the front of the car and went over the bonnet, and I flew a long way, like 100+ feet. But the initial impact was me landing flat on my back, and it was that back injury that basically ended my career. I didn't break anything. I was wearing good gear, hideout in Essex, hideout leathers. I was wearing a hideout textile suit made to measure. Absolutely saved me without a shadow of a doubt. Showy helmet that had scuffs on the top of the helmet as I was flip-flapping down the road. Again, you know, I was very battered and bruised, and I was immobile for a fair while, but I didn't break anything. And immediately after the accident, I got up out the road and I walked away. And it was one of those times when you look at all your arms and your legs and they're all attached, and you go, fuck me, that should not have happened. As in, not that the guy shouldn't have pulled out, but I should not be standing up and walking away from this. Yeah, fucking unbelievable. That was all 9 lives in one go. I didn't have any lives left, to be fair, after many years as a sports motorcyclist. My lives are long gone. But whatever I had in reserve were gone there and then. That was it. And speaking to a GP mate of mine, he said the forces of impact shouldn't have walked away from. So some days you get lucky, and that was a very lucky day. But anyway, turns out it was a young lad driving the car. He was only 18. He passed his test only a few months before, and he said to me, I mean, he was in bits, the lad, he was absolutely in bits, and he said to me, let's go this way, I think I'm riding around in circles. obviously was massively apologetic, and he said, "I'm so sorry." He said, "I saw you coming, and I just thought you were further away than you were." So he sat and thought, "Oh, the bike's miles away." But of course, on a bike you don't have the two wide headlights you do in a car, where you can get a bit of appreciation of distance and speed. You just got either a single or a twin headlight on motorcycles. So he thought he had space, and he didn't. He pulled out, then he went fuck, slammed his brakes on and stopped in the middle of the road. Now, had I not had obviously the training that I have to quite a high level, you wouldn't believe it, me riding around on this old clanker, would you? I don't really concentrate too much on riding this, so I just ride. Had I been Joe Public, I'd have probably been sat, you know, pretty much centre of the carriageway, as in my side of the carriageway. And the bike I was riding, it was a large, heavy, high-power motorcycle. I would have gone into his driver's door. That bike would have gone through the car. He had his girlfriend next to him. It would have killed him, it would have killed her, and to be honest, I'd have probably hit the roof and I'd have been killed as well. So the training that I received not only saved my life, but it saved the life of the two people in the car. Now, I don't hold any malice to the lad. It was a genuine mistake, it was a genuine error. He fucked up, he knows he fucked up, and obviously the insurance is still going through, to be honest. The insurance company and everything, it's all admitted full liability, but it is just a case now of obviously working out what they're going to pay me. Because I did return to work. It took me about a year to return to full-time work, but I did try and get back on a bike. I did ride a bike for a while, but it just wasn't the same. I didn't have the same level of concentration. I think I actually said to my boss at one point, "I've lost my bottle," because that's probably what it was. There comes a point where you just go, "No, do you know what, I can't do this anymore." So I moved to driving and being a passenger in cars, because obviously as surveillance, use cars, use motorcycles, and people walk around. That's public knowledge. So I'm not giving anything away there. And I just couldn't sit in the car for extended lengths of time. My back was absolute fucking agony. So, and I have been to all the rehabilitation places. I've had acupuncture, I've had everything, and it's as good as it's going to get. And riding a bike actually makes it feel better. I think, it's one big circle, wasn't it? I've just been in. There's Mellons Lane. Like a bit of that. So my back, it still niggles me, and if I sit in a car for an extended period, I still get a bit of pain. And sleeping, it's painful as well. You know, it's the old trying to get to sleep. Where's this go? Did I come out of here? I don't think I did. Frosted Lane. Or Frostland Lane. Yeah, so basically I was put in an office, and office work isn't what I do. I absolutely hated it. So it got to a point where I could retire. So I made the tough decision to retire and take whatever pension I'd accrued at the time, which obviously wasn't the full pension, and move on to do something else. You know, sad day, and you know, obviously it still pisses me off, because if it wasn't for that, I'd still be riding, you know, doing the job that I absolutely loved. But that's life, you know. We are born with a deck of hands. Sometimes you can play that hand well, and sometimes you're shit out of luck. And for me, oh fuck me, this is bumpy. For me, it was a case of putting myself and my family really first, and you know, moving away from the bike, because it's not fair on them. You know, my poor missus had to, you know, and my daughter had to sort of live through me and my injuries, moping around the house, and mental health issues, and all the stuff that comes with a big crash. They had to put up with that, and sometimes you think, yeah, you know, it's time to call it a day. But unfortunately my back meant that, you know, calling it a day was calling it a day on my career. So anyway, that's probably a very long version of what could have been a very short story. Pretty sure I came this way. Let's go this way, shall we? So yeah, that was my previous job. and I will in future episodes of RS'ing about, I will think of a few stories that I could tell. I've got a couple in the back of my mind, stories that I can tell. Some stories that have been in the public domain, some stories that have been in the national press, but as long as my role, if you like, or my team's role was disclosed and everyone knows about it, then I'm happy to talk about them. Obviously there's a lot of stuff where surveillance is unknown, and you know, you see in the press, oh, this happened and these bad guys got caught, but it's not disclosed how they got caught, and obviously anything like that I'm not going to disclose. That's just the way it is. But I will talk about what I can talk about, but again, I won't talk about what I can't talk about. I know it sounds a little bit disjointed and a little bit waffly, but anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know it's been a bit more serious than normal, even despite being on the lovely Thing of Beauty 250 RS and it being Christmas. Happy Christmas, everybody. So if you've got any questions about what I used to do or how you get into it or anything like that, post a comment. If I can answer it, I will answer it. If I can't answer it, then I'm not going to. Just move out of the way here. There's a car coming. But gentlemen and the odd lady that watches this, ride safely. Enjoy the bikes. Enjoy riding. And obviously, main thing, stay safe. Stay safe. Take it easy. And I will see you on the next episode of RS'ing About, where I will think of a few stories, and I'll give you a bit more waffle and stories. Someone did ask me about the Ducati as well, the Panther that I built, so I might do a quick video on that. But anyway, stay safe, ladies and gents. Have a good Christmas, and if I don't ride before the new year, have a good new year. See you on the next episode of RS'ing About. Take care.